All right, let's dive in. We tend to think about our minds, our moods, our thoughts as being all about chemistry, right? But what if there's another huge piece to the puzzle? What if it's also about physics? Today, we are looking at some incredible new research that connects something as simple as physical force to the actual structure of your brain and even your mental health. I know, it sounds a little strange. Mental health, mechanical? We're so used to hearing about neurotransmitters and hormones, but what if the story is also about pushing, pulling, and pressure? I mean, think about it. Every single second of the day, your body is under some kind of mechanical stress. Every step you take, every time you stand up against gravity, your body is being stretched and compressed. We feel it in our muscles and joints, sure. But the real story, the one we're talking about today, is happening on a scale you can't even see. Every single one of your trillions of cells is also getting squeezed and pulled. And it turns out they have a really clever way of dealing with it. So, how in the world does a cell feel a physical force? Well, that brings us to the amazing science of cellular touch. The fancy scientific name for this is mechanotransduction. But here's what it really means. It's like a cell's superpower. It can take a physical event, like a stretch or a squish, and instantly convert it into a chemical SOS signal. It's a message that zips through the cell, basically yelling, "Hey, brace for impact." Okay, so sounding the alarm is one thing, but the most important message has to get to the cell's command center, the nucleus. And that nucleus is protected by a pretty tough barrier called the nuclear envelope. And as this new research in Science Advances points out, that wall isn't just sitting there. It's actually an active sensor. Think of it like the motion detector on a security system. It's the first line of defense. So how does the signal get through that wall? It happens incredibly fast in 3 key steps. First, some kind of physical force hits the cell. Instantly, a first responder protein called ATR literally rushes to that nuclear wall. Then ATR acts like a switch, and it flips on a messenger protein called RSF1A. And just like that, the warning is carried inside the command center. Once that alarm goes off inside the nucleus, something amazing happens. A whole construction project kicks off. It's this incredibly fast internal emergency response. So here's the play-by-play. That messenger, RSF1A, immediately calls in a master builder protein, filament A. Filament A doesn't waste a second. It starts assembling a web of support beams made of something called nuclear F-actin. It's literally building a protective skeleton inside the nucleus itself. And this image just shows it perfectly. Look on the left. That's a cell nucleus, just chilling out in its normal state. Now look to the right. After being hit with mechanical stress, it's filled with this dense, crisscrossing network. It has literally reinforced itself from the inside out. It's like putting up steel beams to brace for an earthquake. Okay, so this is an incredible defense system happening at this tiny, microscopic level. But so what? Does this tiny cellular drama actually have any impact on us as whole, living, breathing people? Well, to find that out, the researchers had to go from the lab bench to the real world. Scientists dove into these massive human biobanks, huge databases with genetic and health information from hundreds of thousands of people, and they asked a really simple but profound question. Do the genes that control this whole mechanical defense system have any link to our health? And the answer they got back was a huge, resounding yes. Variations in the genes for ATR and RSF1, our first responder and our messenger, were linked to a bunch of neurological traits. But get this, the gene for filament A, that's our master builder, was directly tied to the thickness of the cerebral cortex, the very structure of our brain. And then they found what you could basically call a smoking gun, a very specific little variation in that messenger gene, RASF1A. When they looked at the data, this one tiny variant was way more common in people with schizophrenia than in people without it. This was a powerful genetic clue. But, a genetic link is still just a correlation. It's a clue, not a conviction. To prove that this faulty gene actually causes a problem, they had to see it in action in a living system. So they set up this brilliant experiment. They engineered mice to have this exact human gene variant. Then they asked 2 simple questions. 1, is their cellular emergency response system broken? And 2, does it change the physical structure of their brains? And the result for question 1? Absolutely stunning. The cells from the mice with the faulty gene were broken. When you put them under physical stress, they completely failed to build that protective internal skeleton. The whole emergency response system was just offline. And the answer to the second question was, if anything, even more staggering. When they looked at the brains, they could see a physical difference with their own eyes. On the left, you see a nice, thick cerebral cortex from a normal mouse. On the right, the cortex from the mouse with the faulty gene, it's visibly thinner. And this chart just confirms what they saw. It wasn't just their imagination, they measured it. The mice with the broken cellular alarm system had a significant, measurable reduction in the thickness of their cerebral cortex. A tiny glitch in a cellular machine led to a major change in brain architecture. So let's just zoom all the way out here and put all these pieces together. What does this incredible story about a tiny cellular skeleton actually mean for you and me? Well, it paints a really clear picture. It's a direct chain of events. Physical force triggers an alarm in our cells. That alarm builds a protective skeleton to keep the cell's command center safe. But a single faulty gene can break that whole process. And when it breaks, it's linked to real, physical changes in brain structure and a higher risk for complex neurological disorders. The researchers who did this work said it best themselves. They concluded that these broken mechanical pathways could be a key piece of the puzzle in understanding some of the most complex disorders of the human mind, a piece that, until now, we've pretty much overlooked. And that just leaves us with this incredible, mind-bending thought. For decades, our approach to mental health has been almost entirely about chemistry. But what if that's only half the story? What if the future lies in understanding the brain not just as a bag of chemicals, but as a sophisticated physical machine? It opens up a whole new way of thinking about the mechanical mind